afternoon, my people. Today's topic I want to talk with you guys about was on the subject of self-defense. So basically, the onus of this video is that I feel like is extremely important for anybody, male or female, to know some form of like self-defense, whether that be like a martial art, like wrestling, boxing, like some form of training. And also, I think that it's important for everybody to take an ass whooping at least once in their life. Now, let me kind of get into why I feel like these things are significant. All right, hold on, guys. Let me put something away really quick. Okay, we're good. So, the reason I feel like this is significant, man, is because I feel like knowing some form of self-defense and also getting your ass beat teaches you two very important lessons in life. One, I feel like knowing a martial art or some form of self-defense teaches you a lot about self-confidence. I feel like it does a lot to boost self-esteem, self-confidence, in the way that you feel about yourself. But also, I feel like it teaches you the importance of being humble and how there are many people in the world who could do very significant harm to you. Now, it sounds like these two things are in contrast to each other, right? How can something teach you self-esteem and confidence in yourself while also teaching you the importance of being humble and how you're a small piece of the world and may not be as big, stronger, as important as you thought? How can one thing teach you this, right? And this is where I'll kind of come in and just talk about a few things, right? So I don't feel like I've ever been one to be necessarily like narcissistic or anything like that, right? I've never been big on myself in the sense that I feel like I can beat up everybody in the world or that I'm the toughest person in the room and every place that I walk into. I don't think it's just in my nature or my personality. It's just never how I've been. And so when it comes to like self-defense, for me, that's not necessarily something that I want to say I got from it necessarily, but there are people out there who very much feel like they are the strongest person in the room with no actual research bearing or evidence in the past to back this up besides their own ego. And I'll get to that part second. So let me go in more about like the importance of self-defense and training and stuff, right? So I actually feel like I was kind of the opposite, man. I feel like in the past I was very much afraid of confrontation, afraid of, I guess, physical and verbal even confrontation with people, just on the basis that like I didn't necessarily know what would happen. I didn't know how things would turn out. And I don't think that this is a bad outlook, right? I know in the Kengan Ashura video, if any of you guys have checked that out on the channel, I talked a little bit about how a fight is something extremely chaotic and there is no set point or set solution or set answer to how that is going to turn out, right? Like, things in a fight can go so many directions, and these directions and intervals can happen within a split second, where things can go from looking very good to very bad in a split second. And I think people underestimate the reality of what fighting people is and like what that's like, because it's an extremely volatile and stressful event. And if you don't have some sort of stress about that, or if you don't have some form of anxiety, you are either very sick in the head or your ego is much too large. And I think for me, I definitely was on the opposite end of the spectrum, man, where there was almost this fear of it for me growing up and everything. And there came a point where I was like, I'm sick of feeling like that, right? Like, I'm sick of that weakness, because I know that physical confrontation isn't something that happens regularly. It's not something that most of us in our lives usually run into outside of us being little kids and like dumb like playground scuffles and stuff. Like, it seems like as an adult, It's rare for most adults to end up in a physical confrontation, but that doesn't mean that it's something that can't happen, right? And there's an old adage that says, I would rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And I think that mindset very much applies, right? Like, I feel like it is very much better for you to have the knowledge and the physical ability and never have to use it than to find yourself in a situation where you need to be able to protect yourself or protect the people around you that you care about, and you don't have the means to do it. So when as I got older, I decided to try to take on, like, to figure out how to make myself feel better in this way, right? What would it take for me to feel more confident in my ability to protect myself and protect the people around me? And for me, I saw that, like, I needed some form of, like, training, right? Whether that be like martial arts, boxing, wrestling, I needed to do something. And I ended up pursuing boxing, right? I ended up going to a gym, and upon entering it, man, it was one of the scariest things I feel like I've ever taken on, to be honest. I was so nervous walking into there, man, because I had no idea what to expect, right? Like, when you think about, like, a boxing gym, or just like another place where, like, you see people training and getting into martial arts and stuff, sometimes you have this idea in your head of, like, the stereotype, right, of just like these huge guys who are completely unapproachable and stuff, man. They're gonna be jerks, and they're gonna try to beat the hell out of you to try to teach you a lesson because you don't know what the heck you're doing and all that sort of stuff. So I went into the gym with these just preconceived notions already of, I guess, like, what I thought it was gonna be like. And so going into it, man, and, like, taking that first step was honestly the hardest part. And then when I went in, can't lie, there were a lot of jack dudes there, man. There were a lot of dudes that were just huge, and you could tell that they could do some damage and stuff, man. But what I found is that upon talking to the coach and getting to know some of these people, like, once I went in, like, to do the paperwork and stuff, signed the waivers, and went in for my first practice session and everything, they were some very cool people. They were extremely, I get, open with their knowledge. They were very welcoming and sort of trying to teach you different things. Like, they all had different reasons that they had been there and stuff. And I just found, man, that, like, the very people that I thought were going to be the ones that made this experience terrible, or that were going to make me walk out of the door, were the ones that made it so welcoming and tried to ease me into, like, what this sort of lifestyle and what this training was going to be like. And so preconceived notions, like, were shattered kind of very quickly. And what I found, man, is that as I, like, learned different things, as I learned, like, proper technique in the gym, as I learned, like, different takedowns, like, how to protect myself, like, how to guard, just different stuff like that, it not only helped me out as far as, like, nutrition, diet, and just, like, overall physical well-being wise, right? But it also mentally, it made me feel so much more capable, right? It made me feel like I know that, like, I'm not bulletproof or anything, man, but, like, should I ever find myself in a situation where somebody's being aggressive towards me, or the people that I care about, my family, like the wife, my kids, like, brothers, sisters, like, anything like that, friends, I feel like I have the knowledge to, I'm not going to say, like, I'm going to get into a fight and I can knock out everybody in the world, man. That's not even close to what I think. But I do believe that I have the ability to stand my ground and protect myself in that situation. And that sort of feeling of confidence and well-being in oneself just feels so good, man. It's something that's extremely difficult, I think, to reach when you don't have that sort of training or experience to back yourself up. And I feel like a big part of the experience came from not only like the training piece of it, but the sparring piece of it, right? Like the piece where you're actually facing another human being and you guys are like hitting each other, going back and forth. And it was never one of those things where it's like the guys in the gym like tried to kill me or just knock my head off and were like, hey noob, we're about to show you what it's like in this gym. I mean, I'm super thankful for that, because I feel like that's how you lose people and you make it unapproachable and new people don't want to come to your gym. And I didn't have any kind of experience like that. But what they did show me what was a taste of like what live combat was like, right? And like all of the stress that comes with it, how things happen so quickly, how real combat isn't a fighting game, right? How like, because you guys know from the channel, man, that I'm super into like fighting games and just like, and martial arts and just like different stuff like that. And I've been playing them for years. And like when you experience actual combat or actual sparring and stuff, you learn so much. Like, well, there actually are some parallels. It's very different putting your body on the line and being in that situation than it is like watching a fight or like playing a video game and stuff, man. And you learn about how your mind reacts to certain things, how like your body instinctually reacts to certain things until you train it to do otherwise. And you learn so much about yourself from that combat experience that's just invaluable, man. And I think it's, when it comes to instilling confidence in yourself, I don't think there's much that can replace learning some form of self-defense, because all of us should have that feeling of like, okay, while I may not be like the strongest or whatever, I do feel like if it came down to it, I can protect myself. And that's a feeling that we, again, like all of us should be able to say that we have about ourselves. The second part of it, the humble part, comes in when the taking the ass whooping thing, right, is, I feel, is necessary, because many people out there have this idea that because they like work out, because they were born taller than others, because maybe they were born with a more muscular frame than other people, they can become a bully, right? Like they can become somebody that looks down on other people or use like physical intimidation methods to try to get what they want out of others, or like they talk down to them. Or sometimes it's not even the bigger people, right? Sometimes smaller people, just because they have been able to run their mouth and get themselves out of situations, they feel like they can do whatever they want to, talk to people any kind of way, and just have this attitude like they're the baddest person on earth, right? And I would love for these people to go into a gym and spar for literally 2 minutes. 2 minutes, go against somebody who's an experienced fighter or somebody that has actual training, and see how far that attitude gets them and how much they can change, right? Because I guarantee you, man, that the people that are talking this way and that feel the need to bully other people, to talk down to others, that they've never adequately had their ass whooped before, because you wouldn't act this way. I remember the first time that I was in that gym, because it wasn't just boxing, right? But because they also did like jiu-jitsu, and they talked like wrestling takedowns, because the coach was originally a wrestler and stuff. And I remember the first time going up against him, and then a couple of people that he had me spar against, just how absolutely powerless I felt when I got taken to the ground, man. Because like, I'm not a small guy, man. Like, I'm 200 plus pounds, and like I felt that like, okay, like clearly like these guys know what they're doing, and like I'm gonna lose this, but like at least I'll be able to put up a fight and do something, right? Oh my goodness, man. You want to talk about feeling absolutely helpless and just like, what in the world is going on? I've never felt something like that in my life, man. Like, I was on the floor before I even realized what happened, and like my leg was touching like a different part of my spine than I ever realized that it could. And then they're like, okay, yep, you should, right here's where you should tap. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Let me tap really quick. And I definitely did, man. And they had me spar for like, I want to say it was just like a minute 30 seconds at most, but that minute felt like 30. Dude, with how many times that I got like tapped out or put in situations where if I was in a live combat scenario with somebody that knew these things, I would have been done for. I would have been unconscious. My arm would have been broken. Like, I would have been a mess, dude. And it taught me so much about the fact that, like, wow, man, the world is genuinely a big place. And there are some people out here that can do me dirty. Like, they can do me wrong if I ever tried to come at them the wrong way. And it's not even about fear, right? Like, I didn't come out of that being afraid of people. It was just like an eye-opening thing, right? It really, truly humbled me and made me respect so much fighters and, like, people that train in this way for years, and people that put their bodies at risk and, like, choose to take on, like, the life of a fighter and stuff as a profession, man, because it is no small thing. And what you have to put your mind and body through to get to the point that some of these people are, it's like with boxing, right? We talked a little bit about wrestling, but I don't think many people know how difficult it is to take a punch while looking at somebody's fist punching you, right? Like, instinctively, man, when we get punched, like, our instinct is, like, to close our eyes because we don't want to get, like, poked, or, like, we feel like it's gonna, like, mitigate damage and stuff. So, like, we don't want to see where the hit's coming from. But if you turn away and you close your eyes as a boxer, you're gonna get knocked out, man. You know how bad they're gonna do you if you, like, shrivel up and you don't look at where the punches are coming from? It's not what your body wants to do naturally. And for somebody to train themselves enough and to be able to rewire their body in a way where they can effectively fight another person like that and see where these hits are coming from, that's so much, man. That's such a crazy thing, and I think it deserves to be respected. So going back to the topic of what we were talking about with somebody taking an ass whooping, these people may have been in a situation where they bullied smaller people than them, or they're used to being the most physically powerful person in the room, so maybe they've beaten up people before that's either didn't want to fight them, didn't know how to fight them, didn't know how to fight, period. And this can give them this sort of, like, ego push or this ego blow up, making them think that they're this big person. And I feel like it would do them a whole lot of good to go against somebody with a little bit of experience, right? Fight somebody your size who knows what they're doing, and let's see how much your tune changes, because I guarantee you it will. And it just gives you a whole different outlook and mindset on, like, who you're messing with, right? Like, people that I told you guys, those guys that I met in the gym being so humble and nice and everything, man. And I feel like this comes from not only the self-esteem and confidence that they have in themselves, but also the realization that through their combat, they've come to realize that, like, they're not the strongest person in the world, and this is okay, and they don't need to inflict pain or harm to other people to try to prove their strength or prove what kind of person they are, because they're confident in their abilities and they know that they're not the strongest, and that they've come to grips with that and they're okay with that. And what this has done for the healthiness of their mental health and the health of their mindset as a person can't be understated. And people who treat others in, like, the bully mentality and do this to other people, I wish that we could just put them in the ring for, like, 2 minutes, man, and just see what happens, because I feel like if they take in the lesson, they have no choice but to become out of it like a different person and everything. So that was just a brief conversation on what I want to talk with you guys about today, man, and just some of the thoughts that were in my head. If you guys listened all the way through, I appreciate you. Let me know in the comments below, like, what you guys think, like, if you guys have any, like, sort of self-defense or martial arts experience, what it taught you, what you gained from it, and just your thoughts on, like, that whole bully mentality and things like that, man, because I would absolutely love to hear from you guys as well. That's what makes this fun for me. In the description, I got a link to, like, my Patreon, like, social media and stuff like that, so definitely follow me on there. You can check out the Patreon and support the channel if you want to. If not, I appreciate you guys just coming and having a conversation with me, man. That's the most important thing. So I'll let you guys go. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you in the next one.